Welcome to Hair Blazers, the podcast where we empower you to disrupt the beauty industry starting with your chair and your salon. You can focus on running your business and tune in here to find out how to keep it moving forward. I'm Colleen Lamran, the Director of Education and Business Development for the Verde Salon Group here in Winnipeg.
And my name's Naomi. I'm the Marketing Manager for the Verde Salon Group and for the Aveda Institute Winnipeg.
And I'm Roberto Sinopoli, owner of Verde Salon and Aveda Institute Winnipeg.
So today we're going to be discussing why you should call your customers your guests, not your clients.
So this is something that made definitely a big difference for us in the salon. And it really is all about seeing the people who are walking through your door as people first.
Absolutely. I think that was also a mind shift for me as well. As soon as you say the word guest as opposed to client, like you almost think like, oh, I need to take care of them. Like they are my guest. Just like they'd be, welcoming a guest into your home rather than a client where it's so technical. I think more of like a doctor's office or very clinical when I hear client.
Yeah, there's definitely more of a human touch when we're using the word guest, and that's how we want people to feel when they're walking through our door as individuals and as human beings.
Yeah, it really starts from that welcome when somebody's first entering your space. If you're treating them as a guest, that has a very different connotation than like a client or a customer. If somebody's coming in as a guest, whether that's into your home or into your business, like when somebody comes to my home and they're a guest in my home, I, start out with saying like, welcome. I'm so happy to see you. Come on in. Let me take your coat. Let me get you a drink. Let me make you comfortable. And if you haven't been here before, let me give you a little tour. The connotation and the vibe and the feeling of being a guest versus being a client is very different. And, that mindset shift is like the people who are guests in our business, they can really see that and they can really feel that tangible difference, because I think we've all been in a business where we haven't really been welcomed in and we feel like almost like, oh, like should I be here? I've been in businesses where I have had to like walk myself up to the front desk and there's somebody sitting there like not doing anything, but they don't make eye contact, they don't say hello, and then I have to go all the way up to the desk and be like, hi, I'm here for yeah, exactly, hi, I'm here for an appointment, or I have a question, whatever it is. And that's a very uncomfortable experience, having to make yourself comfortable and welcome in a space versus having, somebody else invite you in, especially the first time going in, because going into a new business can be kind of an intimidating experience depending on, who you are and your level of comfort.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can get really comfortable with like the space that we're in. Like even if it's, a beautiful space, thinking, oh, we're very welcoming, but everybody, has their own insecurities. And when they're walking into your space, it is our job to make sure that we're welcoming them as a guest. And something that I always talk to our new talent and the rest of our team about is that every single guest that walks through the door, whether they're here for an appointment or they're here just to pick up retail or just to ask some questions, is a gift. So I think of every single guest as being a gift. And if you say client, it's just not the same.
Now, argument's been made, I've heard it on some other podcasts, where when someone's a guest in your home or a guest in your space, there wouldn't be a charge associated because we're charging them. It kind of contradicts the word guest. How do you feel about that?
Well, I guess I could see that, but I think it's the experience that we're giving is so worth beyond the price that we're charging. Like to me, price is one thing. People feeling like there's value in what they're spending money on is a whole nother thing. Like we offer so many, add-on values such as, complimentary beverages we're not charging for, or, a hand massage or a scalp massage, things that we're adding on top of, what a basic service I think would be.
I think for me, like a guest really connotes a specific relationship. And we are building that relationship and creating that relationship and maintaining that relationship over many years with the people who are in our space. So I think it's the relationship that matters, and that's what keeps people coming back. Obviously, like they love their hair, they enjoy their experience, but creating that relationship with the people who are in the business, that is what really creates that magic of somebody wanting to be here, feeling the energy, feeling the atmosphere. If they feel good when they're here, they're going to come back. And obviously there is a transactional component, as with literally any business. They're coming in, they're paying for a service. But I think it's the relationship that creates a guest versus like a client experience.
Yeah, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer necessarily. I think it's what you're most comfortable with. But for us in particular, I think there's a psychological piece that plays into calling our clients our guests when they walk through that door. And I really think it aligns everyone within the building with what our expectations are on how those people should be treated.
And I think it's psychological for not just our team, because as soon as you are the one saying guest instead of client, again, it's psychological, the way that you're treating them, but also for our guests, like coming in, you always want to address people by their name. But if by chance I said, well, you know, Naomi's here, I don't realize her name's Naomi, and I say to Rob, well, your client's here, I feel like that's very cold. If I were to say, you know, Rob, your guest has arrived, or your
Yeah, it's
guest
got a
is
nice
here,
ring.
like it just
It's got
sounds
a
so
nice
much
ring.
nicer.
Yeah, and being addressed by name too. Actually, when I was spending a lot of time here up at the front, sometimes guests would remember my name too, and like that felt super good. Having someone be like, "Oh, Naomi, it's nice to see you today," while I'm welcoming them in, you know, because it's creating that relationship. And if I'm a guest in a business and they're addressing me by name and remembering my name and remembering things about my life and building a relationship with me, that's a business that I want to go back to, because you know you can really feel that care and that consideration. And obviously if you're a stylist, you're seeing a lot of different guests a day, and that's where, you know, making notes come in. I think that one tool that's really useful is Ford, which we got from
Julia's group.
from the DeJulius
Yeah.
group, from John DeJulius, and that one is family, occupation, recreation, dreams. And those 4 things are really what make up a person's life and the way they spend their time and what's important to them. And, you know, taking notes or remembering any of those 4 things really helps build trust and build relationships.
Absolutely. So like we get our stylists to make notes in our guest file, right? They come back 6 weeks later and you're reminding them of something that they talked about, and your guest is blown away by the fact that they remembered my daughter's soccer game that was that night, or they remembered that I love tacos. Like, that's unbelievable. What? I do like tacos. And for us though, like for the stylist, it's such an easy thing to do. It takes an extra 2 minutes to do this, and it makes all the difference in the world. And we see that.
Yeah. So I think that we can take, you know, when we're referring to guest versus client, client feels very transactional. Guest is really much about relationship building. And if we can build those relationships, then those relationships last a long time.
Absolutely. You build that trust and also loyalty.
Absolutely.
And it's more of a mindset shift than anything else, because in practice, you know, at the end of a service, as a stylist, you're going to be writing notes on, you know, what the what the guest mentioned, what the guest mentioned about, even I slip up sometimes, what the guest mentioned in terms of like, you know, what color formula you used, or maybe they want to get a color service done in the future, or maybe they want to go lighter or go darker or change something, whatever. Maybe they're growing their hair out. You're going to be making those notes at the end of a service anyway. And you've just spent, you know, 45 minutes up to several hours, you know, spending time together, having a discussion. And now when it's fresh in your mind, it's pretty simple to just go ahead and, after you know, noted down the color formula, you can go ahead and say, you know, this person is looking forward to an upcoming trip, or, you know, her daughter is in soccer championships next week.
Yeah. Those are the things that have long lasting effects on our guests, and they remember that. And I think that it really plays into also, we're taking a look at, you know, when you're building relationships, you're building trust. When you're building trust, then you're able to sell services, you're able to sell retail. And it really does speak to retention, because, you know, as humans ourselves, we're going to make mistakes. Not always going to give the best haircut, or that color might not always turn out the way exactly
Speak
you
for
wanted to.
yourself.
I can't speak to it. I don't even do hair, but it happens. And I do think that our guests are much more tolerant when you've built a relationship with them, compared to if it's just a transaction. If it's just a transaction, it feels more like a one-off, and transactions can happen everywhere. But if you're building relationships, you cannot reproduce the relationship with that person, which leads to great retention.
Yeah, and especially after, you know, moving out of COVID, people really care about those high touch experiences. That's a really major decision-making factor, is like, how do I feel when I'm at this business? How do I feel when I'm spending my hard-earned money here? That is a major, major deciding factor in where people are going to spend their money. And if they go and they have a bad experience, or if they go and they even have like a okay experience, if you haven't succeeded in making them feel good in your space, the likelihood of them coming back is not very high.
Yeah, one of my guests actually said it really well. And she said, it's the experiences when people come in, it's like a piggy bank. So every time you give an unbelievable experience, it's like you're putting another coin in. You're like building up this piggy bank. So if in the end, you have a moment or you have not the best, an off day, you still have this relationship bank full. So it's not like it's for nothing.
Yeah.
And that's the way you build personal relationships and the way you build relationships with your guests. It's those small interactions over time, remembering something that's important to them, asking, next time they come in, asking them how their trip was and listening to their experience, being present with them. All of those things are, drops in the bucket or coins in the piggy bank of building a trusting, strong relationship.
Thank you for listening. Make sure you share this episode with your team and subscribe to become part of the Hairblazer community. Get out there and blaze the trail to a thriving business for years to come.